Hello and welcome to the Endurance Channel with me, Ant.
And I'm Tom.
And today we are going to be looking at putting your wetsuit on properly to make sure that it fits you in the correct areas and that you can swim as effectively as possible. So starting from the bottom, we're obviously going to try and get, with really poor balance, 1 foot in at a time. So it's important that we really get that wetsuit up as high as we can over your calf muscle to begin with. And you really want to go as high as possible. I would generally leave about 1 inch at the bottom, but you can go higher if you've got a slightly shorter wetsuit.
Would you wear gloves or not?
So if you have got gloves, then by all means do feel free to wear gloves, because it will just protect your wetsuit and hopefully stop you from putting a few too many holes in it. But having done this a few times before, I'm kind of happy with knowing which bits to grab hold of and lift up.
When was the last time you put this wetsuit on?
It was definitely at least 6 months ago.
So a lot of you might go through this, so 6 months of no wetsuit swimming, getting back into it, it might take a bit of time for you to get used to putting your wetsuit back on. Like, any tips?
So as you can see, just very gradually working the suit up from the bottom to begin with. You don't ever want to sort of get to that point where the crotch is kind of like between your knees and you haven't actually got it all the way up. So make sure you get that part nailed down first, grabbing small parts of the wetsuit and just gradually working it all the way up first.
What about if you want to soak the wetsuit in a bath beforehand? Is that a good thing to do or not?
Yeah, so a lot of people do soak them in the bath sort of beforehand. It just gives the neoprene a little bit more flexibility when you're getting it on for the first time and just gives it a bit more life back after it's been sat stagnant in the cupboard for a few too many months.
Cool, so you've got it to your waist.
Yep.
What's the next step?
We're up to the waist now. That's nice and comfortable. Again, you want to get it as close to the crotch as possible, so pulling it all the way up. As we can see, there are no wrinkles in that suit whatsoever. We're nice and comfortable in that kind of position. We're now then going to have to do the rest of us now.
Cool.
So, I'll have to take a t-shirt off, mightn't I?
So you're at your waist. What's
Yep,
next?
so next we're going to work it all the way up to our upper body. And again, pick an arm, any arm. We're just going to, again, exactly the same as we did with our legs, just make sure we're very gradually working that suit up bit by bit. Once you know roughly where that line is, so I know for me it's probably about 1 centimetre from where my wrist bone is, we can then start working up the rest of that suit nice and gradually up towards the shoulder. And then once you're there, we can then give it a lift. And again, we just want to make sure that the suit is nice and snug to our underarm there, okay? Yeah. Once we're happy with one side, we can then go on to the other one. So again, doing exactly the same thing again, working it up, and again you've got the option of watch under or watch over, depending on your own preference. I tend to leave my watch underneath, and again work it nice and gradually all the way up to the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then once we are there, if we're happy with it and you can do your own wetsuit, then by all means you can then try and work your own zip up. For me, I've got a bit of a weird system, so it goes from the top to the bottom, and there is absolutely no way that I can do that on my own. So that is where we bring a partner in, and they can then help us with that wetsuit and get it a little bit more snug.
So what I'm going to do now is essentially get all this neoprene tighter across his back. So what I'll do is I'll ask him to put his arms up, and I'll just reach down and really try and pull it across. Again, the other side. Once we've done that, bring it across, do the zip up. Then once it's at the bottom, what I'm going to do is grab where the zip is and just work my way up his back all the way to the top, and then ask him to put his hands above his head and then really give it a lift up. And then next, depending on where Ant wants the tag, I'll just leave it there so he can easily get to it.
So you might find the suit is a little bit tight on the front as well, so you can still give it a little pull up. Make sure you're leaning over a little bit as well, and we can sort of start to feel that air coming up through the suit, because we want it to be nice and snug underneath our arms. We don't want anything there to rub or irritate, to make sure we've got that nice smooth movement as we're going through that swim stroke. So it's a good idea to spend that little extra time making sure that you're getting nice and snug into your wetsuit at the beginning of every single swim session.
why? Give us a couple of benefits just for that.
Yeah, I mean, we never want to sort of feel that restriction underneath our shoulders. We want that nice sort of smooth movement for our swimming stroke, make sure nothing's rubbing, especially around the back of the neck as well. A lot of people say that they get a lot of like wetsuit rub around the back of their neck, and quite often that could just be that we haven't quite got that fit right. So, I mean, people can get rubs and, you know, chafing on their neck, around on their underarms and things like that. So just making sure that that suit is super comfortable is a really good thing to do.
Any tips, anything you can put on?
Yeah, so Body Glide is one of the key products that I use, and you can literally put it anywhere, but the key areas that I would use it on are definitely underneath the armpit, so definitely towards the front is where I tend to get a lot of chafing, and on the back of the neck as well. So when you're putting your head up to sight and see where you're going, quite often that does irritate at the top of the wetsuit, so a bit of extra Body Glide there really helps.
And again, there's a difference between swimming in fresh water and salt water. So you might have trained in fresh water and had no issues whatsoever, but then you jump into salt water and you still get that irritation. So again, work out what type of water you're going to be swimming in and work out how you if you get that irritation or not. Thanks for watching our video. Enjoy swimming in your wetsuit, but what do they need to do, Ant?
They need to look down below for a like and subscribe button, and maybe leave a little comment too.
And turn on notifications.